It's the Christmas season, a season where everybody in America comes together as one and waits for the doors of Walmart to open. A season where Grandma and Grandpa leave the house at 3 p.m. to try to squeeze in an hour of shopping before they head to the Cracker Barrel for dinner. A time when fathers all across the country wait until the last possible moment to do their shopping and never realize that this is the closest they'll ever be to looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Ah, Christmas. There's been a trend in my lifetime of replacing the word Christmas. If you go to the mall, you'll see less Merry Christmas and more Happy Holidays. And Christians all over the country have sounded the alarm bells that the secular unbelievers are taking over our holiday. But I think that's overkill. In fact, I'm not even sure we should be fighting this battle at all. I mean, it isn't exactly Helm's Deep. To be fair, I've never actually seen this happen. I've never seen it with my own eyes. But I have heard of it happening, and I know that it's a stereotype, a joke's punchline during the Christmas season that Christians are grumpy. So I'm gonna work with the assumption that this does indeed happen, even though I've never really seen it. So let's look at the history of Christmas for a second.
And there were in the same country shepherds, abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night, and lo.
Hold on there, Linus. I don't mean the actual history of what we celebrate. I mean the history of the holiday. December 25th in Rome was a holiday called the birthday of the unconquered sun. The Roman pagans, I hate that word, pagan, sounds like a Pokemon. They celebrated the winter solstice on this day. But the Christians of the time weren't fans of the holiday, and they sought to take it over for themselves. In the end, Christmas, as they called it, was a day set aside out of the year to honor the birth of Christ. They adopted several different traditions from ceremonies of the day and crammed them all into this new Christmas. A couple of these traditions would be the burning of the Yule log, which came from Yule, and gift giving, which came from a holiday called Saturnalia, which is basically just a real-life Roman version of the Purge. We're not commanded to set aside a day to honor the birth of Christ, so our allegiance to this holiday is simply one of tradition, not of biblical command. Christmas is my favorite holiday by far, but just because it celebrates a biblical event doesn't make the day itself biblical. And when people decide not to use Merry Christmas, it doesn't mean that they're stomping on Christianity. Okay, maybe some of them are, but not all of them, and that's their problem. And it's time for Christians to understand that the holiday and this season doesn't really just belong to us. It belongs to everybody. We have our own church traditions that place Christ at the center of our celebration during Christmas, but those outside the church don't have that. There are other religions in America, and they have their own versions of December holidays. Let me give you an example. It's like Sundays. Sundays don't belong to the Christians. I celebrate Sunday as Sabbath, as a day of rest, a day of worship, but those outside the church don't. They pursue their own activities on Sunday. But they get a Sunday. I mean, they have it, and it would probably be dumb of me to get really mad at them for not going to church. That doesn't help anybody. The whole point of America was freedom, right? So freedom includes freedom of religion. And if a Jewish person who lives in America doesn't believe Jesus is the Messiah, how can we expect them to partake in a holiday that glorifies him as divine? It just doesn't make any sense. So of course they have their own thing. I mean, would it be nice if everybody celebrated Christmas the way that I do? Yeah, definitely, but that's just not gonna happen. And saying happy holiday doesn't take Christ out of Christmas. You know what does that? Santa Claus, gift giving, eating, caroling, watching football. These things are all great traditions, but they take our eyes off Christ. And so until we clear the beam in our own eyes, let's not get too upset about the speck of dust in corporate America's eye. And keep in mind too that Happy Holidays is a friendly greeting. It's not that they're necessarily saying, hey, Happy Kwanzaa. And would it really matter if they were? I mean, they're saying, I hope you have a happy whatever it is that you celebrate. Don't take offense to it. Would you ever be offended by somebody who says, have a good day? Pretty much the same thing as Happy Holidays. There are a literal ton of problems in this country and in this world. And this is the battle that we're fighting. During the time where we should all be about brotherly love, we're fighting over man-made tradition because unbelievers don't celebrate the birth of Christ. I mean, duh, why would they? I fully understand the need to fight every battle, But this is something that I think does more harm than good, and I simply can't get offended by this. I celebrate Christmas the way that I do, with my eyes on Christ, and the fact that there are people out there that don't doesn't affect the fact that I do. I wish they would look to Christ, I really do, but I'm never going to convince anybody of the gospel of Christ if I'm upset and angry. And why would we want to be known for pitching fits and tantrums over the words on a company-wide banner? Let's imagine you're at JCPenney and the cashier is ringing you up and you see the banner on the counter says Happy Holidays. You get mad with the cashier and you start chewing them out. Think about that. The cashier doesn't control the banner gets mailed to them from corporate and they have to put it up or they get fired. They can't do anything about it. So getting mad with them does nothing good. It cannot accomplish what you want accomplished. They're not going to run out to the printer that day and print out a new banner because they can't. Because there's a product of everything that you do. What was the product here? If the product isn't a new banner, then the product is probably that person gets upset with you and with Christianity and with Christians because they got chewed out about something they can't control. So do you think that not shopping somewhere or getting upset when somebody says Happy Holidays, do you think that that spreads the gospel or do you think that that hinders it? I'll place my bets. When even the most cynical unbeliever tries to muster a little bit of joy and compassion during this time of year, we, the people who should be all about joy, should be overflowing with joy, we're mean and we're bitter and we complain like Scrooge McDuck.
Here's your wreath back. Now out, out, out! Bah! Humbug.
That hinders the gospel. And if it's not done with extreme discretion, you're doing more harm than good. And you could hurt the cause of Christ. I love Christmas, and I think it's very possible to enjoy this season with the trees and the gifts and family time and all of that stuff, as long as we still make an effort to think about what this birth really meant for us. So I'm not bashing these traditions. I'm just saying sometimes they take our eyes off the prize. But to cling to Christmas like it's biblical and fight for it, I mean, when there are so many bigger issues that are overlooked, it just seems so small and so petty. So here's the bottom line. If there's anybody out there this year upset about the lack of Merry Christmas, don't worry about it. There are a lot of bigger and more important things to fight for this year. I heard it said once that putting Christ back in Christmas isn't necessary. He's still there. He's always been there. He's never going to leave. We don't have to fight to put him back there. We just have to choose to see him. That is where our eyes should be. We shouldn't even see all of the stuff that the world is doing. The fact that there are people out there celebrating Christmas and they're not Christian shouldn't bother us. We should still celebrate it the way that we want to. And don't get mad that they don't. If they're not celebrating Christ as divine, it's because there's a bigger issue, and that is that they don't believe he's divine. So don't get mad at them. Don't tell them you need to be doing this, because there's a deeper issue that has to be tackled, and that issue is getting them to understand that Jesus is divine. And when they believe that he's divine and that he is the Son of God, then it will be important to them. But just telling them it should be important won't do anything. It doesn't mean anything to them. There's a deeper issue here. I am tired of finger wagging. So, it's the holiday season. I wish you and yours an amazing Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Festivus.
It's a Festivus miracle!
Don't forget to pass your blessings on to a loved one or to a friend, or even, and maybe especially, a stranger this holiday season. Remember to be warm and kind and courteous in all of your dealings this year. Again, I wish you a happy holidays. That includes Happy New Year. I hope I'll have another episode for you before Christmas is over. If not, I will see you around the new year. We'll do a resolution video or something like that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to pass this along to your friends and your family and help me share this with the world. Help me share this with as many people as we can. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter at this handle. And you can also email me your questions when we get back into the regular swing of things at cornerstoneshow@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you guys and answering your questions in the future. Again, happy holidays. God bless. When you identify yourself as a Christian, you take on baggage. But the truth is that no matter what you identify yourself as, you take on baggage. Are you a Democrat, Republican, hipster, Whovian, believer, Trekkie, ringer, brown coat, Potterhead? You get the idea.